I don't think I went live. Let me start again. I just did my whole spiel and I don't think I actually went live. So here we go again. What is up, y'all? It's your girl, Sarah from Sarah Styles here. I am a reseller on various different platforms, Poshmark, eBay, Etsy, and Tradesies currently, but I'm looking to branch out possibly as well. I also have my husband just texted me. I forgot to hit the live button. Here we go. So I am a reseller. I also have analytical dashboards for the resellers. The link for all of that stuff is down below. You can purchase them on Etsy. My YouTube and my Instagram are dedicated to analytics for the reseller. And then also bringing together, helping you do reselling as a business. And today we're definitely going to be learning about how to do reselling as a business for this live. But I want to make sure if you like content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe. And then if you hit the little bell, you get notified when new content does come out. Give me a thumbs up if you like this live so that I know what kind of people to schedule in the future. And leave comments down below if you have questions. If you're watching this in the recording, if you have questions, leave comments down below for me or Liz. If you're on the live, we can chat in the comments. Oh, one more thing. So I am doing a live once a week, sometimes twice a week. This week I'm doing one on Wednesday talking about all of the reseller apps. So I have 2 other resellers that are coming on, and we're going to pull out our phones and look at the apps that we use and how and just talk about it. Tell you all the apps that we use and what we use them for and how we use them. So definitely you can set a reminder for that one on my YouTube right now, so that it'll tell you when we are going live. If you have something that you want to share with this community, or you have something that you would like us to talk about, the purpose of my lives is to bring the community together. I am not an expert in all the things, but there are so many people out there that are experts, or that we can just have conversations and learn from each other on. So I am doing a live to have those conversations and facilitate those conversations. So if you are someone who has something to share, leave me a comment down below or send me a DM on Instagram and let's get a live set up. If there's something that you want to hear about, hey, Sarah, this would be a good idea, leave comments down below for me or send me a DM so that we can get that going. Now let's get started. That was my whole little spiel. I am so excited to have Liz here. So I've seen her. What's up? I have seen her on various different Facebook platforms, but then we really connected when she purchased the dashboard. And the way that she talked so if you have the dashboard, you have access to my Facebook users group where everyone who has a dashboard is in it. And we do like analytical testing and looking at our dashboards and all of that. So she was commenting in there and I could tell that she like had her shit together essentially. And then I did a live on taxes a couple weeks ago and she joined, and even just a couple comments that she was telling me, I was like, this girl knows her stuff. She has owned a small business for since 1999, sold it a couple of years ago, but she did all the bookkeeping, back office stuff, and medical billing for it. So she knows how to run a small business. But even better is she has sold over 5,000 items on Poshmark. So she can mold the two together in creating a small business, a small reselling business. So I'm super excited to have her on here. She is from Las Vegas. She has 4 grown children. One's about to get married. She first started she went to her first Posh meetup in 2016. So she's seen a lot of growing and changing on there. And so let me add her here. We are going to chat. We're going to chat small business, Poshmark, all the things. Hello, Liz.
Hey, Sarah, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining. Oh, I like your picture in the background. Did you make that?
My girlfriend made that for me when we came up with my name years ago, and we were bouncing it off, and then she made that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really cute. On that note, tell us about your name, and how you got into reselling.
Oh Lord, reselling. Well, my name is Liz, short for Elizabeth, and we just, realized I've been in the coaching industry and in the personal growth world for a long time. And one of the things that I've always been an advocate of is people realizing their own potential, their own, place on this planet, I guess. And so it just kind of she just spit it out. Realize You, the letter U. I mean, I've had it on my license plate of my car. I've had it. It's been my Gmail. It goes everywhere with me. And it makes it nice to have a call tag, I guess, versus using my name all the time. So, it's kind of fun. So yeah. And then she made that for me, and it's just that's my login on everything. So, yeah.
Well, and I love hearing about how people get their names. My name's a super boring reason, but yours is, I mean, it's very thoughtful, and it definitely tells about who you are. Like and you can tell even before we were chatting 5 minutes before this on Facebook, you're very much like teaching people and getting people to realize things, and but in like a very gentle way, not like mean that it can be on social media sometimes. So it's very fitting for you. I like it.
Good, thank you.
How do you get it? How did you get into reselling?
Oh, I've always loved fashion, and I've been in, we were in medical, we owned our own business. So, it was just on the side, and a girlfriend who actually went to, one of the fashion schools in San Francisco mentioned it to me. And she said, have you ever heard of Poshmark? And at first I think I was one of those people, I bought something and I never accepted it. And so this was 2013 was when I did this. And it was just, a shirt. I still remember the shirt actually. And I probably didn't do a whole lot with it until maybe a year later. I just kind of started messing around with it and I had clothes I wanted to sell. And I think I wanted to up my wardrobe a bit. And I decided, let me go get some Tory Burch. I've never been a retail shopper, especially the numbers that people pay for some of these clothes. It's like, wow, really? So, yeah. But I was never really a thrifter. I didn't go thrifting or whatever. I guess I looked for deals, and I pulled things together well. So I didn't have to have the fancy clothes when I looked polished or put together. And then when I owned my own business, I was in workout clothes or jeans, I didn't have the need for the wardrobe. So I just started selling what I had, trying to basically trade up and get to fancier things. And then November 2018, I went full time, right at Thanksgiving, December, when I went full time with it. So after I've met some amazing, amazing friends. So it's been good.
Had you thrifted before? Because you said you hadn't really thrifted.
So I started, right when I get my nails done, every 2 weeks, there's a Savers right next to it. So every 2 weeks I would go in and just look. I have a love of bags, as you and I both share that. Yes. You love your bag too. And I would find stuff. And the sack bag was like every time I went in there, I'd pick up the sack. And the thrill of a deal, I guess, was what I loved. And so so every 2 weeks, and then every once in a while I started going again and again as I was plugging in more and more into Posh. I'll never forget the first meetup I went to, Miss Fabulosity. I'm sure a lot of people know her, Anna, the woman with the long, beautiful blonde hair. Yeah. She was hostessing it. And I remember saying, I've never bought anything other than my size. And she went, oh, you'll get over it. Like she just went, oh, you'll get over that. And I was like, oh, and now I can say, I did get over it quickly. Yeah. And so that was cool. She just was like, and she was so, warm and welcoming that I've just started learning and growing, and it's been wonderful. So,
I feel like this community is very much welcoming. Yeah. And that's why I do various different platforms, but one of the things that I really do like about Posh is the community. There is, you can't, there's various different things about all the platforms, but the community on Poshmark is very warm and welcoming. And the Posh and Sips are like amazing, just to have like coworkers that you can talk to and learn from. And
well, I come from the days when the Facebook pages didn't exist. We did all of the communicating about learning and inside the app on posts of like some girl would create one. If you want to learn more, ask me here. You'd have to scroll for miles to get to the bottom to figure out that's where, and there was dozens of those because different people. So Facebook groups when they were new, I was like, how's this going to work?
Yeah. I can't even imagine that. Cause now I feel like it's just crazy to like, right. You can create a bundle to kind of talk to someone, but even then it's like, right. Great. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. We could probably talk thrifting forever, but I want to talk business with you as well. So you have a background in business, in running a business. So tell us a little bit about that, what kind of business you ran and kind of what your tasks were for that.
Well, so my husband's been in medical sales my whole life. And at one point in his career that he had to make a shift, and he's like, I'm just going to do it myself. And so he went out and got I think he went out and got all the credentials. We already had our son. Well, I only have 2 kids. I only have 2. So the 2 adult kids.
Oh,
So if I forget to talk about the other 2, there's only a
oh,
couple
I
of them.
don't know how. Oh, sorry.
No, okay. So my kids were little, and I think I was pregnant with my daughter when this whole job thing happened. And I was like, what? A little scary, but his job was just, it wasn't working. It was a major shift. So he started the business, and he got all the licenses and all the business stuff that everybody talks about on the pages and all that. And really quickly, we had to learn how to keep up with all that. And then I had to learn the differences between medical, because I was doing medical billing, which is a whole different world. And the only way I was learning was running into walls and making mistakes and not getting paid. And so he got a small business loan, so we were okay for a good year. But so then the business, so there's the medical side, and then there's the business stuff, the IRS, the state, the sales tax, the reporting of your numbers. And so I just had to learn how to do it, and, figure it out. And I've always been good at my numbers. I've always kept my checkbooks reconciled. I remember when I met my husband, it was hilarious. He had his water bill filed under H. You might get it. Some people, I got H2O. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't figure that out. So I took over quickly before we got married. So I've always tracked our numbers just because I like to know, reconciling my checkbook's always been a thing. Now my girlfriend and I we used to reconcile when we had a quarter missing. Now it's $5 or up, or maybe now $10. I'll just we don't worry about it under that anymore. But
that's kind of how I am. But so we were talking before this went live, but my husband does, I keep a lot of the bookkeeping, but my husband kind of reconciles everything. And he will sit there for like 30 cents for like hours. And I'm like, dude, it's 30 cents. Just write it off. I'll go to my wallet and give you 30 cents.
Right. See, that's how you guys balance each other. So I've learned, let's go to 5 now. I think there was a point where I was at $20. Now it's back down to 10, but
yeah. Well, and it depends personally or business. Cause you really don't want to get audited, which you've gone through an audit, right?
Yeah. 2 of them. Yeah.
That's intense. Okay. So you have a background in doing kind of the medical billing, and Ashley Jackson says that's what she does. So we probably won't get too much into that. If there's things that are helpful, more of the business side of it. So things that you did for your medical or for the medical equipment business, how has that kind of helped you in the reselling? What are you using that you did there that you're now like, oh, like I'm running a small business, but in a different, environment, but like, what can I use? What am I able to do there? Oh, you froze. I'm going to take you off real quick. You froze up. Oh no. Technical difficulties. Hold on. Can you refresh your computer? I've never had this happen before. So hopefully if she refreshes her computer, maybe it'll oh, she logged off. Okay, so she's logged off. I'm hoping that she will log back on. So stay tuned. This is real life. This is what happens when you do a live. Sometimes there are technical difficulties. We were chatting before it started, and we could have kept chatting forever about all of the things. And so I'm hoping that she will join back up here shortly, and we can talk. We're talking about kind of the differences in QuickBooks, Quicken. So I can tell you kind of what I do. I track. Oh, there she is. There she is.
So I don't know what happened. Oh my God.
Yeah. Phew.
I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. No, I literally stopped. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. You got back on. So we're good.
Good.
So how is what you were doing, the bookkeeping and stuff, what are you using that you learned there in your reselling business?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and my accountants, my CPA, we still have one. He's had conversations with me when the IRS kind of, they audited a lot of stuff in Las Vegas after the big crash, especially medical companies. Our competitor, we were both getting audited at the same time. We were like, really? So it wasn't just us. It was like they came in after medical. The differences are the IRS is the government. That's the federal government, right?
Yeah.
Your money in and your money out. As far as tracking your individual receipts, saving your receipts is purely if you get audited. And with today's world, you can download bank statements and credit card statements that show where you bought things. Yeah. So you don't have to keep the numbers down to the pennies. Where like what you do and what you offer is the ability to assess your data and assess your numbers to the point where to determine whether you're making a profit doing what you're doing. Where with the IRS, you could make, $10 and spend $9 and they want to know about the dollar.
Yeah.
So
they don't care how you're doing. They just want.
No, right. And if you're not, we're like, that's not enough profit for me to worry about, right? But they don't care. If you're making, 100,000 of those dollars, then you're going to pay taxes on them.
Yeah.
So it's money in and money out. And I think a lot of people, at least like on the Facebook groups, I think they get all, how do I track and how do I if I give something, like if I donate something back and I have to keep track of each individual item I'm like, for me, my Quicken, as when we were talking on that one YouTube, Quicken downloads all my transactions. I deposit money into the bank and it says Poshmark income. And anytime I go to Goodwill or Savers, it says Poshmark expense, unless I buy something else. And the two numbers, one minus the other, and that's my income for the IRS purposes.
Yes, right. For what they can tax.
Yes.
But then how you're doing is different. And I'm glad that you brought that up because we talked about this earlier. I get asked all the time, about my dashboard being for taxes. And it is not. I am not a CPA. I am not even in the financial world. I have a degree in mathematics. I don't know. In my husband,
that's cool. Mathematics and financial. They seem the same to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, but they're not. They're very different because, me and my husband argue because I'm like, I just want to do a math equation, but there's lots of different rules behind how you look at things financially. And then accounting is different as well because they just want money in and money out. Where our CPA, I track, essentially I do what you do in just in a dashboard, but I track high level. I don't track every single item. I might start tracking every single item because I'm starting to cross post and keeping track of the inventory. Right. Yeah, but for CP or for IRS, no, he's like, I want 5 numbers. That's all I care about.
All right. Mine goes, because I track it on a little bit smaller because I want to know. My husband and I, we've been married 28 years. So we used to fight over the last $40, in the checking account.
Yeah.
So once we got past that, we track our spending. We have allotments of, being able to just spend what we want because we have goals and we have the other things we want to do. So we kind of track personal spending for him, for me, and we can look at it. And I go, well, you spent your money for the next couple of months or something big ticket. So it depends,
Yeah, we do the same thing. And even before I was I've always kind of had a small business on the side, but for me and my husband, we have a spreadsheet for our own finances. That's 17 tabs and it has a retirement graph. You've seen my dashboard. Imagine that for your personal, and we each have our little spend and our goals and so it's very much the realm of what I'm comfortable in for tracking and keeping track of. But what the IRS needs and my dashboard are very different. My dashboard's intent is to help you make more money. How do you know what to source and how do you know you're profitable and but you cannot use it to file your taxes in the next 2 months.
And the way that, we've even talked about that, I think on Facebook, I like to know what I sold from the first of the month through say the 31st for January. With the way Poshmark, at least Poshmark gives you your numbers, they don't give them to you on your report until they're funded. Yes, so it could be the 10th or whatever of February before all the sold. There's a gap in their reports, which I wrote to them about. But January, you're like, I don't care if it's money in my, and that's okay as long as you do it the same way every time.
Yes, and that's the thing. And so I actually I'm going to stop for a minute because Ashley says if you were to get audited and you don't have receipts for everything, does that mean trouble? And I'm going to say
no. When I went through my audit, I keep everything. I'm transparent. I have the whole thing. For for me, I mean, the way, because I always use my ATM card or my checkbook or my, or, you know, I track. So I would literally be able to download my Visa statement and it would say Goodwill Savers, Goodwill Savers. Now, if you want to keep them, but you can be audited up to 7 years. And I don't know about you, but I go through a pile of them, you know, a year. All I'm saying is people think they're saving receipts for different reasons than they really, if they were thinking through, it's like, oh, you're not going to save them for your year-end IRS submission. You know, you don't turn them into anybody at the end of the year. You only need them if you're audited.
Unless you're going through your receipts to calculate your expenses and then you're doing it the hard way, download your bank statement.
Right, exactly. And or hopefully you're not doing it at the end of the year. Because that's
right. So that's the other thing too. And I think both of us will speak to that, is some kind of tracking system, and whether I am anal to where I do it at the time. Like I go shopping, or when I get home, I go shopping, depending if I have kids with me, because sometimes it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
But I have a Google.
Disciplined.
Yeah, I have a Google Sheet, and the second that I do it, it goes into there and it is tracked. And I'm also anal in the extent of I look at my financial workbook almost every single night before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's rare, though. That's rare.
Yeah.
My husband used to I used to require him bringing home the receipts before all the logins you can get online. And like now, I told you earlier that I see that he went to REI before he came home, and he's like irritated because he's like, you know, I'm like, because I can download it, right? Not that I'm checking on, but I might just be doing the books at that minute or whatever. But I used to require all the receipts. Now I don't. Yeah. So to answer her question, I don't. It's on the bank statement. Any bank, American Express gives it all broken down. You can do it with bank statements. Again, if you're disciplined to do it, and that's once a month a statement, maybe that might be a lot to do it. You might and you stop and forget for a couple of days. Now you're really behind. So it just depends on what works best for you.
Yeah. Whatever you do, get into a routine and do it, because you don't want
weekly minimum.
Yeah,
minimum. Yeah.
For sure. And I do PayPal once a week, because PayPal's a disaster. And it's the reconciling there takes me forever, and it takes me just as long as if I do every single payment or if I just do it all in one sitting. So I do PayPal once a week.
See, so here's what's interesting is, so PayPal for you is it's a bank. Yeah. Basically. And so you want to track if eBay payment went out of there or whatever postage. So for me, I put the total in my bank account.
Yeah.
It's income. And so whatever came out of it, inside of it, stays in there. Now, I don't do that with every credit card, but for that one, and I'm going to have to probably change that.
Because then I'm not tracking, because I've thought about doing that, but then I'm not tracking the fees and the shipping and the expenses.
Correct. Yes. I'm absorbing it a little bit because I don't have that many sales elsewhere. I'd say Poshmark's about 90% of my sales. I've been cross-posting for a while, but I'm deleting more than I'm selling on. I've sold about 5 or 6 things on eBay.
eBay's like slow. I mean, it's slow for me. It's starting to pick up, but I feel like you really have to. It's not like Posh, where if I am on Posh and I am like spending a ton of time on Posh, you will see it. eBay is like slow and steady wins the race, where it's been months of like slow and steady.
Yeah.
I feel like they want to make sure that you're like committed to them. It's like a long-term relationship, where Posh, I feel like, is maybe like a one-night stand.
Oh, that's good. I like wham, bam. Thank you, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be long-term. Like sometimes one-night stands turn into long-term if you want it to be, but I had never thought of that, but that's exactly what it is. eBay, like you have to put the time and the commitment into it to get the return. Posh, you could totally you could do it for one day and get the return in your closet. That's funny. So Ashley did say I should sell that one on Etsy too. And I'm assuming you're talking about my financial dashboard. I'm not a financial or CPA person, and so it makes me a little weary. I have people ask me all the time to sell it. It makes me a little weary to put it out there because I don't want it to be like I'm giving you financial or accounting advice. So I'm working with my CFO, quote unquote, my husband, because people do ask, and I think it is very important, which is why I have Liz here talking about it. So I'm trying to come up with something that I feel comfortable sharing and speaking to without saying I'm a finance or an accounting person. So stay tuned. I might have something. Okay, so we spent lots of time. I haven't even started asking questions, I don't think. Let's talk about reselling business. Do you know the amount of income? I kind of know this answer, but I want people to know. If you have made a certain amount of income, you have to claim it. How does that work?
I know that kind of came up on the last YouTube where I was chatting. I looked it up, and it says if you are going to owe $1,000 a year or more, they're going to want you to make quarterly payments.
Oh, quarterly. Yes.
Quarterly. Make estimates, quarterly estimates. And the main reason now, if you don't do the quarterlies, you better be prepared to pay whatever you owe by the 15th of April, or you will be assessed fines and interest.
That's yeah. So, and one thing I want to know, neither one of us are CPAs, first of all. Second of all, it's going to depend by state. Every state, well,
taxes, right?
Taxes, yeah. So some of it will depend by state. Because I've been told by our CPA that if you hit that mark, and I think ours is 1,002 is what he told me, and you don't do it, then they send you a fee. Like not just
you can be assessed. You can be assessed penalties and interest rates. So now my husband, we don't file our taxes till the September because we do an extension. And because we have an LLC, we can do the extension. Now, LLCs, that's a whole nother conversation about those entities that protect your assets.
I'm gonna ask you that next. I just wrote that down. We're talking about that next because I think people want to know the difference.
Okay.
Oh, and so I want to say what you spoke to is paying quarterly
federal taxes.
Yes, right.
Federal income tax. And that has state, Nevada, we don't have state sales tax, state income tax. We have sales tax.
Yeah.
We don't have state income tax. The casinos pay it for us. So one of the benefits to living here is that. So
like at all?
No, most you do federal taxes and you do state taxes. We don't have state income tax at all. Nothing. Only one report a year. Now,
Nick, we're moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, a lot of companies move here now. That ball of wax again, but the now our sales tax is almost 8.38%. So we'll get to sales tax, I'm sure, in a few. But the federal, it's across the board. All of us have the same federal tax rules, and that also includes your Medicare and your Social Security money. If you're self-employed, that's on top of your, say, 25% income tax bracket, which most of us, a small, husband, wife, families, we're falling into that world, 25%. On top of that, if you're self-employed, you have to pay your own self-employment taxes, which are Social Security and Medicare. So basically, you're banking that for your own future.
So even if you touched on a point, and you mentioned this in the video that we are talking about earlier, even if, I forgot. Oh, so you are a business, but you can file like with your partner, and then you're under the certain, like you hit that 25. Like, what is the best way to pay the least amount of taxes?
Oh, well,
lots of different ways, but like a high level.
So I think what you're referring to is I suggested that if you have a partner that's working in the corporate, gets a paycheck, gets a W-2 at the end of the year, that has their taxes taken out of their account, out of their check every 2 weeks or whatever, right? If you have a partner that's in that world, and a lot of people do, my suggestion is to have them drop their exemptions to nothing. So basically, which will make their check less, which can be tricky. So it'll make their paycheck bringing home a lot less money because they will have a lot more money taken out of their check. So at the end of the year, say they normally make 100,000 and they have, so we're just going to use random numbers. They have 25% taken out. Now they're going to have 30% taken out, which is going to cover the gap for you. So at the end of the year, all the money you've both paid in is going to go in on your taxes. They've overpaid and you've not paid typically. So that overage will cover you. So you don't have to come up with as much money at the end of the year.
Okay. So like if you're not like I go in and save every single month.
Okay, good. That's good.
But if you're not doing something like that, the way to cover it so you're not like hit with a
$2,000 to $3,000 IRS bill at the end of the year. Right.
And so I'm going to say something kind of the opposite. My strategy is I want my money. I want to
absolutely
interest right now is not anything great, but I have always been taught, like, I want my money. And if my husband was giving money to the IRS, then they're making money off of holding that money till the end of the year, where I want to hold my money towards till the end of the year and then pay it. But if I do that, you have to be very self-controlled and diligent in your bookkeeping. We put aside what
right, and don't touch it, right?
Yes. No, we go through, we do all of our finances, and the first thing that comes off after expenses and everything is we set money aside for taxes at the end of the year based off of where tax bracket our CPA
the ratios that you're used to paying. Right.
Yeah.
That's smart, and that's rare. I would think it's rare, and I think that's why the IRS wants the estimates, because people will spend it, and then they get to the end of the year and they don't have it. Even
yes, right. The IRS wants their money. Absolutely.
Right. So they recommend the estimates. So, and it's, if you're self-employed, you've got to pay the extra 4 or 5% to cover your Medicare and your.
So can we talk, I mean, I don't know how comfortable and how much you only have 2 kind of businesses here, but I was talking with my husband. Oh, we have a question. Is there an amount that is a cutoff for not having to report as far as reselling? And I'm going to say no. As far as the IRS knows, and this is what my CPA has said, any money that you are earning reselling, you have to account as revenue. Not to say that everybody does.
Right.
But, and chances of, if you sold like 3 of your maternity tops on Poshmark, the IRS coming after you, like, but like chances are like,
right.
But technically, legally speaking, any revenue you earn from reselling, you have to claim as revenue.
Technically. Right. And no one's reporting that number to the IRS right now. No one is, other than you.
Yes. Right. And well, eBay sends.
Oh, eBay. Yeah. eBay probably does. Ooh, see, there you go.
eBay sends, after, they send a 1099 after $20,000. So if you're making $20,000 and 200 transactions, Poshmark currently does not.
Right.
Okay, so Ashley is asking, how important is bookkeeping in the beginning of your stages of reselling? The most important. It is so much easier to get set up now than to resell for a year and go back and try and figure out what was happening. And if you get set up now, you may not know what you're doing, but get set up, and then next month you're like, oh, I should have been tracking this number, and then you only have a month and figure it out.
And I think people should be doing their bookkeeping, period, regardless. I mean, you should have some way of tracking your expenses, even in your personal lives, as far as, how much money you're spending on eating out versus groceries, or where can you cut back, like little things that maybe, to see at the end of the year, whoa, this was more than we thought. It's just good. Like, that's what your dashboard does, is it keeps you from dealing in ideas. It's a reality check.
Yeah.
So regardless of your business, it should be checked anyways.
Well, and it's kind of funny. So I said that as the exact same time that my husband was typing, it's harder to do it later.
Yes. Good in the beginning. Right.
Well, and so she says she has QuickBooks, and I was going to say, for your financial and for your business, I mean, me and my husband are both very, very comfortable in spreadsheets, and so we use that. There are so many apps and resources out there. And you can probably speak to some of the differences in these. QuickBooks, Quicken. I'm going to let you talk. There's so many apps, and you can get like personal apps too that'll like how much you spent on eating out and
right.
So let's talk about some of like the apps that you like, the differences and what you know.
I love QuickBooks. I love. I've used QuickBooks for the whole time. And I had 2 different accounts in QuickBooks. One was for our personal and one was for our business. And I mean, if I had to write ourselves a check, I'd have to log out and log back into the other account to put the money in or out of the account. So now I know on the last call, there's an app for QuickBooks on your phone, which costs, I don't know, $5 a month or something. It tracks your mileage.
That wasn't very much.
But it is an add-on to the online QuickBooks. I checked on that. Okay. QuickBooks can run you and up $1 a month for the online version, or you can buy one to put on your computer, which is what I always had, to the tune of $400 a year is what I paid for my software to have QuickBooks. Okay. So when the business kind of dwindled down, and I mean, every 3 years I bought QuickBooks. That was just kind of the routine that we did because they upgraded it enough to justify it. The $400 is ridiculous after a while.
Yeah. So if you buy it and put it on your computer, it's like a one-time fee, or it's an annual fee?
It's well, it was now. I think they've shifted a little bit. Like Outlook now has shifted you, if you want that you have to, it's $99 a year, where you used to be able to buy it and own it.
Yeah. Well, and most places are doing like more of a subscription base.
Yeah. So I think you can still buy the one that goes on your computer. But every 3 years they're going to want, because the computers have changed, the software's changed, it stopped working pretty much. If you didn't get the newest one, you lost all support, and you lost the updates, the payroll updates, all that stuff went away. So we had to buy it every 3 years, and it was $400. So that's 100 and whatever, but it also has to run on a computer. I couldn't get to it unless I was at home. And so, I switched to Quicken, which I'd used for here and there. And it's a lot more seamless. It was like $40 a year type of thing. Okay. They have an online version as well, which I've looked at it. The reports are a little bit different, but QuickBook is a really true accounting. If you have accounts payable, accounts receivable, say you want to pay, buy some $2,000 worth of inventory, you want to pay every 3 or 4 months, pay over 6 months, that's accounts payable. I think the line for QuickBooks and Quicken is, if you have accounts receivables and accounts payable, you're going to want to look at QuickBooks for sure. If you just have your personal expenses and now you're reselling, I suggest Quicken. Now there's some free ones online too, though, for online versions, money managers. There's several that will automatically integrate all your checking and credit cards, and then with a push of a button, everything's downloaded, and you have your options to, count. It's like what's the word? Not networking. It's like where everything's tracked. Yeah.
So just to clarify, make sure I understand, Quicken is kind of like more the starter, like maybe you just sell on Posh and you're like, that's it. If you're starting to like maybe sell on multiple platforms, and now you're paying a lister and you're buying pallets and you're like paying over 6 months, and like you're getting to be more of a small business, not just like you and Posh, then you probably want to look into Quicken.
Yes. If you're going to do payroll, if you're going to pay over, track accounts receivables and accounts payables, in my mind, is the best way to make the decision for yourself.
Okay.
Personal income is Quicken. That's Quicken for personal stuff, and a little bit extra.
Yeah. Okay. So most people probably, at least in the starting world, are okay with Quicken. Actually saying you buy, no, I don't. Oh, so she has QuickBooks. Okay.
On her phone or on a computer?
On her computer. Yeah. She's saying, they have the desktop version. You buy once, and then you pay a ton to update the payroll tax info each year. She says they have the desktop version, and I've heard that it's cheaper to buy the new version each year than it is for the updates. Does Quicken have an online only version? Maybe I missed that while I was typing.
I'm not sure. I know they have an app that integrates. And so they do back up to the cloud. I don't think it's as easy. I think it's faster. That's what I was reading earlier, that it's a lot faster just have it on your computer. Yeah. And because you lose a lot of features on the online version.
Yes, so and just between working in Google Sheets and having Excel, like you lose so much.
There's a lot you lose, right?
Yeah. Right. This is such good conversation, Liz. Thank you so much for being on here. I think those were my questions with that. I'm trying to write down questions because I don't want to interrupt you as you're like all this great information. You did note on the LLC. Yes. So I want to talk a little bit. I mean, I have an LLC, and I'll tell you my reasons for that. But I want you to talk a little bit about the LLC and the different like sole proprietor, like the different.
And I am not an expert in this world.
Yeah. Well, just from what your experience is.
For my head, how I understand it is those different entities are for protecting your home and your own personal assets from business issues. liability reasons. If somebody, if there's like your business goes kapunk, it dies, it keeps your creditors and so forth from being able to completely come after you personally, your home or your house or your cars or whatever. It keeps, if something happens, like a car accident or something, and it keeps somebody from coming in and being able to access your personal life. So your children and your spouses are somewhat protected. They have nothing to do with taxes again.
Right.
There's purely ways to compartmentalize, I guess, your different entities, your financial entities, worlds. And so for an LLC, your money, whatever the business makes, you get your number, that money flows right into your personal income. It's flow through. That's what they call it, a flow through income, where you can set up your other S corps or C corps for different reasons. We had a C corp as well. It was taxed at a different level, but it was purely for putting money away. Literally, if you didn't have a good way of putting 50 grand a year, then never touching it again into that entity and letting it sit there and ride. It was good. Like if you wanted to buy equipment every 4 or 5 years, put it in a C corp and let it sit there and make different kind of money.
Because you get, and I'm not a finance person. I did go to start my master's, so I took like 2 classes. So I'm not, but I do, my understanding too, like your S corps, your C corps, you have different tax laws as well. Yeah. And if you just follow, I'm not getting political at all, right. But if you just follow politics, like a lot of them are like, oh, we should tax corporations more, we should not. So there's different laws that if you are a finance or CPA, that you can make the most of your money, make it go the furthest depending on where you are. Right. I don't think that I don't know everyone's business, but I don't think most resellers are in that realm of the world.
No. S corp is, for us, when we started hiring people, that's when my accountant pushed us into the S corp. Yeah. When we took on payroll, more than our own checks type of thing, and that required monthly submissions of payroll taxes, because we were withholding taxes from people's checks. We had to submit our half, and then their half, whatever we kept out of their check, had to be sent in. So that's when he moved us to an S corp, was when we started paying payroll. So that's for us. That's how we did it. So
yeah, and that makes, and so I'm going to know on the LLC as well. I'm an LLC, and my reason for LLC is I've had it for, I don't know, probably 10 years maybe now. Yeah. And I've done various different things. I started with the LLC when I was doing, as I was a hairdresser. I still am licensed, but I had my child and I was doing haircuts out of my house. And so it was like, well, if I cut my ears, like if I accidentally cut your ear, or if you slip on my front yard or something like that, you can't sue me personally. You can sue my business. And I have no money in there because I'm charging you $50. Right. Too bad. But it separates you. Most resellers, depending on what you do, most resellers don't really need it, because if you're selling through a platform, the liability is going to be on that platform.
Yes.
As far as like someone coming after you. I mean, you could, and you would have to talk to a business expert on this, but like if you got in a car accident on your way to the thrift store and someone got, and they came after you, I mean, it could get kind of gray in there.
Right.
For the most part. But that's another reason that I don't like to sell privately a lot, like through Instagram and stuff, because then you're not, I mean, if you do it through PayPal, I guess you're a little bit covered, but you're not, you don't get as much protection. Like eBay and Poshmark take on that liability
of protect. They're the protectors of both sides of,
And for that security, I will pay you 20%.
Exactly.
I'm fine with it. But I don't know how it works with PayPal. I don't know how much. I know PayPal takes on liability from making sure that you get the money, but I don't know as far as the other. I don't know how. I don't know.
I mean, and with clothes, I'm not sure what protection. I mean, at least Poshmark, because it's closed. But I guess in eBay, there's a whole other spectrum of things that could go.
Yeah. Well, then if just like buyers got really mad and things happen, and like there's some crazy people out there. Ashley says she had an LLC last year, but we're still considering a sole proprietorship, so we just add it onto our personal taxes. And so you can file. I'm an LLC, but I still file it with my personal taxes.
Right. They both
say like it's 2 different realms of business.
Well, the way for the entities, those the way the IRS looks at them, it says so it's matter. They don't care. However, you have to pick between them for other reasons. There's other decisions that need to be made based on which.
It's not for tax reasons, depending on other reasons.
At that level, right?
Yes, yeah. I was gonna say because there are like CPA would tell you different.
When you get into the other C corps and S corps, then yeah, you're going to be, that's tax purposes. So.
Okay. I did want to know, and this was going back and I just remembered, something that I don't know how to say this politically. So you see these numbers, and I love social media. There's lots of information out there, and you see this. I am a 6-figure reseller. I sold $6,000 on, which is true. I'm not saying that social media is not saying that, but I want to talk about the nitty gritty of you sold $6,000. How much are you actually putting in your bank account? From like a percentage, like I'm not going to get into your personal finances and I share mine, but from a percentage, most people that I've talked to and looked at, and mine as well, I mean, you're roughly making, depending on your expenses and how much you spend on things, about 40% of what you are actually, what your revenue is. So like you're taking home after taxes, after expenses, roughly around 40 to 50%.
Probably, if that, probably. And I don't know, 6,000, I don't know where that, was that my number? I don't know.
I just made up a number.
Okay, good.
I was just making numbers up.
I don't throw out my numbers. I know when people say, you know, they, like, it's funny because you see the picture, you know, the pictures of all the packages that people put on Instagram, and one of my girlfriends, I'll send them to each other. Like, look at this. I go, that's a week's worth of sales. It has to be. Yeah. It's not just one day, you know, like I ship every day, but who knows? Yeah. Oh, it's not, that's not a judgment. It's like, you could just go, okay, it's a week. So the number they throw out, we know that's their total sales, right? Yes. That's the top number. And so that looks, yeah. I mean, I know there's a gal on Poshmark. She sells nothing but high-end, brand new, amazing bags, and she probably sells them $500-600. She sells maybe $100 over what she paid. So they go for $100 of it's profit. $500 was cost. That's all. But she gets sell 10 of them. That's $6,000. So,
and there's other business models. Do you follow Amber? Do you follow Amber Resells?
I think so. Yeah.
She is amazing. So she did a video, and it's a quick and short, and I'll try and remember to link it down below or go find her. She did a video. It was like 12 minutes, but so she's an actuary. So she is like math. She's like super smart. But so like a lot of her videos kind of have some analytics kind of behind it. Anyway, she did a video about like the 6-figure reseller, and just quickly broke down, and nothing, I'm not dissing on 6-figure.
No, right.
I'm just wanting to say, like, that top number is not necessarily what you're putting in your bank account. And she did a video on, you know, 2 sellers made this amount, but like one is buying their inventory for this cost and one is buying, you know, she went through and did 2 different scenarios and how much they each made. It's a really good video and breaks it down short and easy. I recommend everyone to go watch it. Yeah. I'll try and link it below. I shared it on my husband reminded me to plug my computer in. So hold on. That's what I'm bending over for. So quickly that conversation kind of turned, but so my husband says gross revenue is sexy, but net revenue pays the bills.
It's sexier, right?
Yes, right. And I think that's a lot of what I want to do with my channel is you want to do this as a business, awesome, but like really look at it and figure out how to do it as a business. And if you're selling $6,000, that does not mean that is what you're putting in your bank account. If you need $6,000 to pay I don't know where the $6,000 came from, but whatever that number is, think about. And for most people that I'm talking to, it's about 40 to 50%.
Yes. If you're putting money away for taxes, absolutely. And there's a saying out there that the profit is made on the buy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to make $20. If you spent 10 or 4, it makes a big difference.
Yes. And that is why I have the inventory dashboard, because it matters. And there's various different ways that you can do this business model. You can sell high-end items, or you can sell lots of them, or you can do a little bit. Like there's so many different ways, but you need to know what you're doing.
Right.
Figure out what is working for you, because we all have different sourcing availabilities as well. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that too. So sales, I had all these questions, and I don't even think I've asked you one because we've just been chatting. I'm sure we covered some things. Sales tax.
Oh, yes, sales tax. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about this. I'm going to let you kind of give your 2 cents
Well,
if you have things.
well, I watched everyone, Facebook and everybody like, wow, get up in arms about Poshmark assessing sales tax. And it's been a big conversation with Amazon, eBay, and they all adopted it several years ago because the states where we normally shop were losing all the revenue. So we weren't going to Walmart or Target or Smith's, wherever we shop, buying. We're getting the stuff taken, coming in from online resell, or even these big
Amazons and
yeah. So what we have to remember as people in this community or on this planet or in the United States, the sales tax pays for our schools, our roads, our community resources is all paid by our sales tax. And so we walk, I think, in the United States, I've lived in a couple of places. I lived in Europe. We walk around with a sense of security because things are supposed to be taken care of. We walk into buildings and there's no cracked sidewalk that you trip over. And, we have a level of
and yeah.
Right. And so those things have to be paid for by we pay bigger entities to take care of that for us. And now after years of that, we forget that. So sales tax, Poshmark just went ahead of the curve. And before they got crucified, because it was starting to happen to people, and started collecting it for us and paying it back to the communities that it came from based on the state's regs, the state's laws. So if I sell something to you in Colorado, you're going to have to pay Colorado's taxes on it. And it's a plug and play software program for Poshmark, right? They just plug it in. It's based on your zip code. They take the money from you, they keep it, and then at the end of the month, they pay it to Colorado County, wherever you live.
I saw that they did that, and people were like, oh, no, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't have to do that. Like, I don't want to trying to figure things out. Like, thank you.
I had to do it in my business. I had to collect it. I had to assess. If you buy anything wholesale, the purpose of the whole, so this is where things get where people get all confused. So to get a sales tax reseller license, you typically have to go through your state, your city, your county before you're even eligible to get one, because they're assuming you're going to have a business. Now, you might in certain places be able to get one without all the business licenses first. I don't know.
In Colorado, you have to be registered with the state.
And so there's
that's basically just saying I'm a business and you pay them $10 or $20 or something.
In Nevada, it's $200 to $500. See, that's where they get the money. So see, we don't have the state income tax, but to register a business here, it's $200 to $500 a year to have a business license, which then entitles me to go. Now I have to go to the city. So I got to get a city license too. They won't give me one. So there's like 5 or 6 licenses to the tune of $700 to $900 a year to be able to get something that says I don't have to pay sales tax when I go buy from a wholesaler. Because the wholesaler doesn't want to do it the reason they demand it is so that they don't have to collect it when they're at these shows like Magic. Everybody comes in for Magic, right? The Men's Apparel Guild, I think is what it is. If you want to buy wholesale there, you have to have a sales tax, a reseller's permit, so that the wholesalers aren't going to be subject to paying the sales tax when
they don't want to deal with it.
Right. They're not dealing with it. So they want that piece of paper from you that says you're going to do it. So that's, I think, why Posh moved to it as well, is because the number of wholesalers on the app, they are going to get crucified if they don't mitigate and get in there and do, okay, I'm going to take the sales tax from you because we don't know if you are or not.
Right. And I was thankful when they started doing it, and it was going to happen eventually. Right. The government is not, things have to, like you said, things have to be paid for. And yes, the government sometimes lags a little bit because they're the government and they're big and it's the most robust. Anyway, but they are going to get their money. Like the IRS is not going to be like, oh, like people are like, we're going to.
Right.
And I would rather someone else take care of it. Like I would rather be out shopping than doing bookkeeping. So
do we all want to pay the sales tax to 50 states and figure all that out?
No. Okay. No. So Reagan says Amazon, Wayfair, and eBay can't sell a thing without the infrastructure, roads, airports, etc. that is paid for by taxes. Valid point. Thank you very much. That's a great point. And just so me and my husband talked about this like at dinner, and my daughter was like, what are taxes, mommy? And so my 5-year-old is now learning like how she goes to school and how we have roads, which is great. Like that's what our community is, and
Right.
that's the culture that we live in. We are hitting about that hour point, so I don't want to keep it too long. This has been a really great conversation, and I think I probably will ask you to come on more.
Oh, thank
You have
you.
lots of information to share, but I do want to switch it over for a minute to, so you sent me a little bio, and you said something at the end of it that was really interesting that I want you to talk a little bit more.
Okay.
And you said, I know we need to keep paying attention. So this is talking about Poshmark, sorry.
Okay.
You've been on it for a while. I know we need to keep
Years.
paying attention, as I truly feel 2020 is going to be pivotal for the app, and we are going to see a lot of transition. Who will survive is the question. Those are kind of strong statements. I want to know like what's behind it.
Well, I think that sourcing, everyone's talking about how the thrift stores, the prices are going through the roof. Some communities are fighting against thrift stores wanting, like, they don't want resellers, and thrift stores don't want resellers in their stores, which is like, okay.
But I think a lot of stores, I love when I'm doing something and I'm making money. I just kind of know. It's like
I love it. Yes.
Anyway, that's why we put all the hard work in so that we can do other things and get
Right.
paid. Anyway, so my brother-in-law also resells, and I ran into him at the thrift store this weekend, and we were talking about the thrift stores getting into the game.
Uh-huh.
I think that's why a lot of them don't like the resellers in there. I haven't had that problem in our area.
But we're up against there's way more of us. It's becoming way more known. I mean, I'm run into people that, when I'm dropping off packages, and people on their phones checking, in the stores. The sourcing is going to drive some of us into new places. The stores, JCPenney, I've seen the articles where they're all getting into the reselling world as well.
And was it you that shared the Gap, or was that someone else? Because
I didn't share it, but I saw it. I did see the article.
The Gap, the Gap, what is it?
JCPenney
Republic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then also, I've spent the last year, when I went full time, November of 2018, I had about 250 listings, and I've been making money. Like, literally, my numbers started jumping and like crazy. And so, to the point where last month I had sold 180 items to the tune of, I don't know, like almost $4,000. Top number. So
no, but that's still incredible. Good for you.
Right. Well, thank you. And so, in order to sell 180, that means you have to be listing 180. That's sourcing and cleaning and right. Be keeping up with it. So I'm still only at about a 400, 425 max. I don't know how people do 1,000 I'm like, oh my God. Because it's like going up the down escalator. You're, trying to, and then you got to keep going. And it took me a year to get from 250 to 400. And I'm working probably 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's going to be a lot of people that think they want to do this.
Yes.
And I think that it's going to, it's work. It's work.
It is. And so you touched on, I'm making notes because I don't want to interrupt because you have really good things to say, but you touched on a couple of things that I want to talk about. And this is why sell-through rate is in my inventory dashboard, because you need to know how much you're selling of what you have. And then you can get your average sell-through rate and figure out, like, if you want to increase it, you need to have items for people to buy. You can't, I mean, you can kind of sell more, but at some point you're going to tap out because you have a sell-through rate. Like, you're only selling so many items that you have. And so you do have to increase that. And something that I've noticed as well is a lot of these higher volume or higher revenue sellers, I guess is probably the better way, that have thousands and thousands of listings, and that they have listers, they have assistants.
Yeah, you can't do it alone.
Necessarily, and I don't think that a lot of them necessarily hide the fact, but it's not always like you see one post and I don't think people necessarily always think about that. So then you're making this
assessment judgment in your head.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I can totally do it because they did it, but they also have a team of 2 now. And so you're trying to, like you said, like, you have to get up. It's hard to, it takes time to list. You have to clean, you have to list, you have to share it. You have to source it. Like, it can sometimes take you hours and hours and multiple thrift shops to even find things that are, especially now.
You don't. The boutique people, that's one of the big things that, and it didn't occur to me. It didn't hit me until probably 2018 that boutique people don't have to take pictures in most cases.
Yes, you have one list. Well, and even if you don't, you have, because there's some items that you have to take your own picture, but then you have one listing.
Right. And you have 12 different sizes or whatever. They don't have to, they source maybe a little during, like once a month, they'll go, pick out whatever they want and the brand, whatever the styles shipped to them, but it's all new. There's no fixing it or washing it or polishing it or hoping and praying that and their listings are copyable. Easily copied, templates, I guess, because mine are all different. Yeah. Templates would be a waste of time for me for the most part, other than a little bit shoes, dresses or whatever,
and going to look up the comps and find the exact one. And yes, there's a lot of time that goes on, a lot of things that go on behind the scene that people don't realize. And I think I'm glad that you said that, because everything, girl, we are like, I love you. Everything that you're saying, I totally agree with. And I think it is getting a lot more competitive, and you have to start thinking of it, like, if you want to survive, you have to think of it as a business and make it as business decisions. If you're selling on the side to get rid of your clothes or make $100 so you guys eat, whatever. But I think people are really getting into it as I quit my job and do this as a business, which you can do, but it's not, I bought something for $1 and sold it for $1,000 and that happened.
Right. Even if you had that on Poshmark, you better share the heck out of it. It's not going to get seen.
Oh, yes, right. And then you had to list it, and you probably had to clean it, and you had to find it, and you had to, and then you have to, that's all of the things that I think are talked about in the community a little bit, but everything that we talked about today, that takes me hours a week to do all of that. Me and my husband on Saturday spent 4 hours reconciling, pulling together, and I keep really good track of my stuff. And we still spent 4 hours, and a lot of it was like personal, like pulling our
once a quarter
loan thing, whatever. But like getting all of our stuff together to send to our CPA. Like we didn't even file our taxes. It was just
starting the ball rolling.
I know. So all of the time that goes on behind it, and I think you hit the nail on the head, the nose on the, whatever that.
Nail on the head. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to keep track and kind of see where it goes and pay attention to your data and what is working for you so that you can stay viable in this environment. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Coach bag. Like you and I love Coach bags. I would find them. I didn't even really care about Coach until I started thrifting them. But now, I've had to back off my expectations a little because they don't go for what they used to, but they're still a steady Eddie. Steady. If you can find them in good shape, clean. I used to fix them, not anymore. I used to bring them home and, I love the thrill of being able to fix them up. No, I'm not buying it if I have to fix it.
Time is money. I actually was taking pictures today and I was thinking about the thread in the Facebook user group. I think, were you on that thread? Maybe. And someone asked if they spend time cleaning and most people are like, no. But I was taking pictures today and I had, I don't remember what, it was a really nice blazer. I'm trying to think of what the brand, it was like a $500 blazer.
Right.
And the button, I put closed the button and the button popped off. And normally I would have been like, nope. But I was like,
for $500 you will.
Yeah. I was like, for a button, it took me 30 seconds, but normally I don't do that either. And I was going to say, so what's interesting is my background is in upcycling. I've been doing that on and off for 15 years. I have only been reselling for a year, like strictly reselling for a year.
Okay.
Which, people are like, come to me and ask things. And I'm like, I'm kind of new at this too. I am as far along as I am because I look at my data and I make decisions based off of my data. Mm-hmm. I look at other things and I follow social media and trends, but like I'm making business decisions based off of my numbers. There was a point to that.
I know, right.
Yeah. No, so even in just the year because you were talking about the Coach bags, even in just the year that I've been reselling, the comps on things that I am doing in the offers have significantly decreased. Mm-hmm. A year ago, a Coach bag, I could have gotten $100 easily. And now that same Coach bag is like 50 or 60 and it's sitting for months because there's so many other people out there doing it that are willing to take lower prices. Mm-hmm. So you have to like change your strategy to stay with the times. Okay, we are at that hour. This has been a great conversation. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions. Oh, wait, there were. See, we get so involved in the conversation, I forget to ask. Oh, do you guys think the boutique sell? Are you okay for a few minutes?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. I don't want to keep people if they have places. Do you guys think that the boutique sellers are bad for Poshmark? I don't think so.
No, because it's a totally different world. One of the gals that I really connect with, there's 3 of us here in Vegas. We are like met and bonded. This gal's young. She lives around the corner. Her decisions in what she sources, her Clothos is her closet name.
Oh, she's on here, and she said you're amazing. She said you're her mentor. We'll get to
that. She's a doll, but she teaches me because one, she's 28, she's young, so she looks at stuff I pick up. She goes, "Oh, like," because I'm like, oh, maybe because I'm old. I like some of the older brands and Carlisle, like, but she's got some tough decisions. One, finding it at price points that she can afford it, and 2, what's trending. Oh, for God's sakes, I would have a hard time committing to 20, 30, 40 pieces of something, praying that I chose the right style and colors that was going to work. Otherwise, I'm stuck with it. I get stuck in the vortex of the decision so it's a different game for boutique sellers, totally different, where I can go take a chance on a $10 Coach bag, because if it doesn't sell, all right, okay, now I learned, but I don't know. So
you can sell it, you can get your money back. Like you can sell it.
Yeah. Right.
That's the best business model, but like you can take chances and try things.
Yes. Exactly. So they have it some things easier, but in other ways it's different. They've got, like I said, it's a tough decision that they have to make. And how do you stay ahead of the trends, knowing that someone wants round purses this year versus, or the chunky heel versus this heel versus that? I don't know.
So, well, and it's all work, just in a different way. So they're not outsourcing and looking the way that we are, and maybe not listing, but they're having to do the research to figure out what they think is going. I mean, they're probably following more trendy, like I don't.
And they gotta have a chunk
more.
Yeah, you're gonna do boutique. For you and me, we could start with a $20 bill and get started and do the shoes. Buy a pair of shoes and sell them, and buy 2 pairs of shoes. We could do that. Yeah. For boutiques, in order to get the price points down, you got to have a good $1,000 or so, I would think, at least, to be able to buy at the price point. And then you're still only buying 1 purse or 1 style of shoes, maybe.
Yeah, and then your closet's not. You have to put a big chunk in. And I'm all for you do you, and everyone has their own hustle. And if it works for you, work for it. And if it changes Poshmark, then I'm going to grow and adapt and figure out how to keep my business going. So I don't necessarily, I'm all for everyone figuring out what works for them, and then me finding my way in there. I do see, so he's saying that it pushes thrifters out, like on eBay. I can see that, but then I also think that you just source differently. Like I'm really into vintage, and you're not going to be able to do boutique vintage. You can do boutique that looks like vintage, but like people want vintage, like they want vintage from 50 years ago. They don't want clothes that are new that look like, some people want that, but like there's certain things that you're just not going to be able to push me
brands. You can't, when you're buying boutique, it's unbranded. You got to go market it somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't have to market the Coach or the 2 pair of teaks I found on New Year's Eve. The teaks, you can't, I don't know what wholesaler, does teak sell wholesale? I don't know, to people off the street. I don't know. Yeah, but that's what thrifters do, is we bring stuff that you can't get for that price in most places.
Right. And it's already been marketed for us. You have to market yourself a little bit to get them to come to your closet, but like people are going in looking for Coach because Coach is already marketed.
Right. Branded. I like branded stuff. That's for me at this point in my life. I don't want to have to start over. Now, for my girlfriend, she's 28. She wants that. And it's just a different come from.
And I have a friend who's been on the channel, and she does mostly boutique, and she kills it at it. She really does Poshmark, and she knows this stuff. And I'm with you. I would be way too scared to invest. Even like place like the B&G, is that what it is? Where
I did 1 box. I sent it all.
Even that, it's like a lower price point. It's not even close to wholesaler. And I'm like, I can't commit to buying 50 pieces from you.
And when I got it, I sent it all back. Luckily, they allowed that. That was the best thing about them, is I paid just a $20, $18 shipping fee, but I sent it all back because it was too much of, it was like,
Yeah, I'm too analytical in every single piece that I do. Okay, let me make sure if we have any other questions. Oh, so Ashley says she does a little bit of both. I use items, sell The used items sell so much better for me. Now,
Retail arbitrage that lets you do a little bit. I like to have new with tags in my closet. That's the bummer. So I picked up a few things, but it's even hard. Retail arbitrage is another world where you got to know brands and you got to get the prices aren't always at the place that the reseller can, people that buy even on the app, they can't try things on. They can't return it. So the only reason they're buying is it because they're going to get something for a really good price. And then, of course, the big conversation about the shipping, it does add on to their price. So we got to meet them halfway a little bit, but yeah, we're not going to get it all up.
Yeah. And when you're paying more upfront, then that's taking out of your profit. I've tried retail arbitrage and I'm just not, I don't
do well at it. I wind up taking it back.
I kept the receipt for one thing, but I actually we have a Coach factory here. So they had a big sale and I was like, oh, I'll try it. And I bought this bag. I've sold everything but one bag and I've had it for a year. And eBay's really good with their analytics because they'll tell you like your competitors are at this price. You're like, they
right.
Information. And they keep sending me a freaking email. And the other bag that's like it isn't new with tags. And I'm like, I'm not budging on my price, eBay. But I've had it for a year and I feel like I'm probably just going to net because like there was a reason that it was on clearance at Coach.
Yeah, that's the thing. If that fry bag is sitting in Marshall's with down to $30 or $35, there's probably a good reason.
Yes, right. And there are people that make retail arbitrage work. But again, there's a whole new thing that you have to learn to figure it out. Okay.
I'm good at thrifting and I like it.
Oh, so Kathy says, you mentioned this earlier. I need to get used to buying different sizes than what I would wear.
Yes, I know. I always start in that. I can't buy the little ones. And I just kind of stick where so I've pushed myself into some of the bigger sizes because that's what supposedly sells, so.
But now, I mean, you have the dashboard, so you have the data to see because I buy sizes based off of what sells for me. And I am kind of a normal-ish size in America. I'm like on the bigger, like a large.
Right. I mean, yeah.
And then plus size, I hear plus size sells well, and I've done an analysis. That's a whole nother conversation. We could talk forever, I feel like, Liz. But that's the nice thing about having the dashboard. I'm going to do a shameless plug here. You can look at sizes and then you can feel comfortable buying.
But we know works.
More security in your investment.
And I went on the next one. I'm going to share. I've done some experiments with other girlfriends and that's been introduced we had some really cool results with stuff. So I'll share that.
For sizes?
Well, for like Coach, like I think I told you I sold 65 Coach bags last year.
Yeah.
And one of my other girlfriends, West Coast Chic, I talked her into this Coach bag. 3 weeks later, she's like, Liz, it's not selling. It's not selling. She's getting in
her closet.
I clicked her. I did a screenshot of her photos, used her description because she had the bag. I sold it in 10 days.
Yeah.
And I sent her money when they paid. I just Venmoed her the money. She was like, but she doesn't have any history with selling Coach. Right. And that's where the algorithms, I think, do play in, even though I'm an advocate for they don't have negative stuff out there hurting us.
Yeah.
Slapping us when things go wrong. I don't believe in that. I don't think they have that. But I think the apps in your closets do take on personalities. And I can Coach faster than some of my girlfriends because I've done a lot of it.
Well, and so some of it that plays into this as well with your inventory is you know what to look for Coach. You know how to look it up. You probably know how to do a really good listing for it. You know what other buyers are like. You know the keywords, like what they're looking for. And that's another thing with like looking at what's working for you because there's something that is working well for you. Where you watch these YouTube videos, and nothing against people who do.
I know, right.
Because that's how you learn, and then you try it, but. It's selling for them because they know about it. I cannot sell Anthropologie to save my life, even though social media says, because I don't know Anthropologie.
I make a joke about I cannot sell a $35 concert t-shirt. I don't care what. Empty Hanger can do it all day long, but she's earned the right to do it with her YouTube, with her persona, everything. I'm like, I couldn't even ask for $35 for a used Motley Crue t-shirt. Never mind knowing which one would sell.
Yes, right.
Don't even look. Can't do it.
Okay, sorry. We're like totally going over. We'll have to have you back on because I am really enjoying talking with you. Let's see. Buying retail clearance and reselling as a new someone asked what retail arbitrage was.
New arbitrage. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I scrolled through. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I scrolled down. We missed a lot of conversations. Sorry, guys.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Oh, Reagan Pride said he tried some reseller sources and are still on about 2/3 of the stock sizes and colors. So he's still sitting on stuff. Clothos says, Sarah, is that how you say it? Clothos?
Yes.
Sarah Styles Analytics showed me that my highest revenue is boutique, but I sell more used shoes, which is great to know because you're making money, but for different reasons. My husband says he's a fan of diversification. You can tell he knows business and finance. If you can do it, something, I don't know what that sentence was. He probably was acting with a kid. Something about a riskier revenue. My guess is if you diversify, it's less risk. As long as you do it smartly, like don't put all your money into, okay. Good points. Name brand thrifted trumps no name boutique. That's true. Unless it's vintage. I will only buy something that it does not have a brand if you can put it as vintage because people will search for vintage.
I learned that from you too. That's what I've started. I went back and changed. I've got some older purses that I love that aren't selling, but I went and changed their brands just to see how that affects things. So
yeah. Someone asked retail arbitrage, blah, blah, blah. My highest sales are small and medium. That's interesting. Mine are like medium and large.
Well, my problem is I've only have a lot of the middle, so I don't know what would happen if I believe if you go into, the plus sizes, you got to have more in anything, no matter what you do, having one purse or one pair of shoes, or you got to start, going there, or there's no choices for people. That's the tricky thing too.
Yeah. Okay, I think I caught all of them. And then Kathy Carver says, "Oh, thank you for inviting me, Liz."
I like Kat. Kathy and I were talking behind this on Facebook. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry to hold you over 20 minutes. I feel like we can talk for 3 more hours. So I am going to. I have live set up for a while, but I do want to have you back on because you have lots of good things to share and lots of just good things to talk about. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, and I love your stuff, and I'm a big fan. So
yes, well, thank you. If you are catching this in the recording, you can leave Liz's information is down below, and she's a wealth of knowledge and very helpful and responsive. You can leave comments down below as well for me or for Liz, and I'll make sure that she gets those as well. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you like content like this. I'm doing lives at least once a week to talk with other resellers or experts in different various things that I'm not an expert in, but I want to learn about. If there's things that you want to learn about or that you feel like you can share with the community, contact me either with comments down below or on Instagram. I think give me a thumbs up if you like content like this. My next live is going to be on Wednesday, and it's already up on my YouTube page, so you can set a reminder that'll go off when it is. I'm going to be talking with Air and Ivy, a mom and daughter duo, and then New York Posture about their Instagrams are amazing, so go follow them. But we're going to be talking about reseller apps. There's so many things that help us do reselling better in social media, so we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all that. So that's it, Liz. Thank you so much. This was so informative. Everyone have a good night, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.